Hey everyone, it's Marcella Friel here, and welcome to my webinar, Love the Woman You See in the Mirror Without Doing Another Damn Diet. In this webinar, you will begin to clear a path to self-forgiveness by really getting in the marrow of your bones how you haven't failed at dieting. Your diets have actually failed you. You'll learn the one question you can ask yourself that immediately reveals what's holding you back from loving the woman you see in the mirror. You'll discover how the powerful tool of EFT, or emotional freedom techniques, can help you clear that hidden resistance at the very root. You'll learn the keys to lasting success that make your body a pleasure to inhabit. And then last, you'll hear about the next steps you can take to implement the teachings in this webinar right away, so that you can truly, madly, deeply love your body without having to lose one single pound of weight. Okay? Before we get into all of that, I want to just tell you a little bit about myself. I am the founder of the Women, Food, and Forgiveness Academy, which is an online transformational mentorship program to help health-conscious women like you cultivate unconditional self-love and heal the emotional roots of your yo-yo dieting, binge eating, sugar addiction, and chronic body shaming. I've been a certified EFT tapping practitioner since 2014. I'm the author of that beautiful book that I'm holding called Tap, Taste, Heal. Use emotional freedom techniques to eat joyfully and love your body. It's available everywhere books are sold. I have worked directly and indirectly with nearly 60,000 women just like you. And frankly, I feel like I have a lot of wisdom to offer about this whole issue, just based on my experience with the many, many women I've worked with. Something that's really important to know about me, I am not a licensed therapist. I come to this work through my background as a natural food chef and a therapeutic culinary arts instructor. So I studied and taught the healing properties of therapeutic foods. And I bring with me as well over 25 years in 12-step recovery and over 35 years in the study and practice of Tibetan Buddhism, along with other things. So these are some of the major threads that I weave in the work that I do with women like you. And my life slogan is, "It takes courage to be happy." And I'm going to talk about that more in just a little bit. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to talk first about why you haven't failed. Your diets have failed you. This is a really important piece of this path of loving the woman you see in the mirror. We're going to talk about what's really driving your food and body love struggles. I am going to explain and demonstrate to you how EFT tapping can uniquely address these issues. I'm going to share with you the 3 keys to loving the woman you see in the mirror. And then last, I'm going to give you the next steps you can take right away to put these teachings into action. Okay? Shall we? Let's go. Let's go. All right. Number 1, you haven't failed. Your diets have failed you. I want to invite you to look hard at the text on this screen and take it in. You haven't failed. You haven't failed. You haven't failed. In other words, you haven't failed. It's your diets that have been the failure. Okay? Why is that? A restrictive diet is basically a binge waiting to happen. So, all animals will binge eat as a hedge against starvation. So if you've ever had the experience of being on a diet, you're doing really great, you're losing the weight, you're starting to feel better, and then the diet kind of plateaus and you get maybe stuck and you start to get hungry and you're thinking about food all the time. And then eventually you kind of slide off the whole diet protocol into a binge. This is not you being weak-willed. This is not you having lack of willpower. This is biology. This is evolution. If you are restricting calories, and if the calories you are consuming don't have the appropriate nutrients in them, you will binge. And it's not just you, all animals will do this. So please, right away, just let go of any self-blame around any diet failures that you've had. Dieting only addresses the symptoms, and it does a pretty crappy job of it. And I'm going to explain this a little bit more in a couple more slides, so just go past that for the moment. Dieting destroys your soul and your metabolism. You know, teenage girls who diet in youth are more likely to gain weight than girls who do not diet. You know, I'm sure I don't have to explain to you the shame, the stigma, the embarrassment. You know, you're sitting with everybody else at a party and they're eating what they want, and you're sitting there with your little plate of bird food and feeling miserable. You know, dieting destroys your soul. It also destroys your metabolism. You know, chronic caloric restriction over time, it weakens your metabolism. It weakens your ability to burn fat. It weakens your ability to process nutrients. It weakens, you know, it really wreaks havoc on your metabolism. The other thing why diets don't work, the $72 billion diet industry does not want you to be healthy. This is a really important one to understand. What they want is for you to be addicted to dieting so that you just continue to buy the next diet thing that doesn't work. So when you think about dieting, basically the equation is eat less and weigh more. So restrictive dieting does not work, will not get you where you want to go. You might be thinking, well, gee, maybe there's just one more diet I need to do. I hope that I can disabuse you of that hope as we go along. But here's another question that I want to ask you. What is so horrible about being fat? You know, we live in a horribly fat shaming culture, you know, merciless fat shaming. And one of the things, one of the misperceptions about being fat, about being overweight, is that being overweight equals being unhealthy. And that's not true. There's a lot of research now about, you know, fit and fat. You know, if you eat a diet that largely consists of, you know, whole plant foods, minimally processed, if you're not smoking, if you're not under an inordinate amount of stress, like your finances are okay and your relationships are good, and you're not too isolated, you might well be healthier than people of a so-called normal body weight who don't have those things in place. So a lot of women will come to me and say, I want to lose weight because I want to be healthy. I really invite you to rethink that one. And here to help you rethink it is Lola, who was in my Women Food and Forgiveness Academy for a year and had huge breakthroughs in her relationship with her body. And I'm going to let Lola tell you her story.
Yeah, when I joined the academy, I was just frantic and powerless and stuck and fed up and thought, really wanted to lose weight and thought I'd never lose weight and just felt hideous actually and so frustrated. And what's really amazing is just where I am now. It's got nothing to do with my body, nothing to do with my weight, not the way it looks anyway. It's more about the way it feels. It's like respect. I have so much more respect and care. Care is a big one. For myself, for my life, for my body. I don't self-abandon anymore. I've been really noticing that. Yeah, that's huge. You know, the self-abandonment is, I'm there for myself in a way that I've never been. I have no previous experience of, you know, it's a completely new imprint in my life. And it's not I don't care about the weight, but it's not front and center of my life, that's for sure. And it's an acceptance. I accept where I'm at and who I am, and that I'm a larger lady. And I also, that doesn't scare me like it used to. Like, not at all. Like, that for me, that doesn't feel like, if I'm supposed to lose weight, you know, if I'm supposed to be smaller or thinner, then I have no doubt that will happen. Like, I feel on track. And that's, the freedom is immense because this issue just took up so much of my time and my energy.
Yeah. So Lola definitely loves the woman she sees in the mirror. That I know for sure. Thank you, Lola. So you might be listening to Lola and you might be listening to me talking about why diets don't work, and you think, well, I have to have some kind of diet, right? So here's what I have found. In tracking my own clients who have successfully shed unwanted body weight, there's one thing they all have in common. Each one went deeper than their desire for weight loss and embarked on an odyssey to uncover, release, and heal the totality of life circumstances that got them into their predicament to begin with. These include repairing the metabolic damages of chronic dieting and restoring hormonal balance, addressing, forgiving, and releasing painful chronic emotional distress, which is where tapping comes in, and lowering lifestyle stress by increasing self-care. So that is an excerpt from my book, Tap, Taste, Heal. So yeah, it's not so much about a diet per se. It really is about how you are living your life altogether and how you are relating, especially to the traumas of your past, how you're taking care of yourself in present time. I'm going to get into this more in just a little bit. So here's Bethany, and I'm going to let Bethany tell you her story. What Bethany does not share here is that when she was in the Women, Food, and Forgiveness Academy, Bethany did a lot of deep emotional work. She also undertook intermittent fasting, which really, really worked for her, and she was able to lose 55 pounds, which she felt really happy with. And the last time I checked in with Bethany, she was actually keeping the weight off, and she was still doing the fasting, the intermittent fasting. So let her tell you her story. Here we go. Here's Bethany.
If I think back on how I started this whole journey and how just in a funk I was about everything. I mean, I was depressed. I was feeling physical pain. I had felt like I just was out of control in terms of, or like not even so much out of control, but just lost a little bit about what to do about food and my health, because it just felt as though anything that I was doing was just not making a difference. And now, gosh, I've learned so much more about how to know who I am, and I feel like I still totally have a lot more to do there. I've certainly made major changes to how I eat and how I think about food, but it's, obviously so much more than just that. I feel like my relationships are different. I feel like my whole life has changed in the past year, and I feel like it's only like really the first step or two on a much longer journey. But I feel like I have a way forward, a sense of hope that I simply didn't have before. In total, I just feel as though it's given me a different sense of who I am.
Yeah, so beautiful. Yeah, so let's take a look at what's really driving your food and body love struggles. Okay? So here's the one question you can ask yourself that I was referencing earlier. If your food and body love struggles were a solution rather than a problem, what would they be a solution for? So again, here, if you want to pause and do a little journaling on this, this is such a rich and provocative question, and it can really help reorient you, reorient your whole relationship to your path. And it can also reveal pretty immediately what it is that's keeping you stuck. So feel free to pause if you want to journal on this a little bit more. What I have learned from the many women that I have worked with is that our struggles with food and with our body are our best attempts to meet unmet needs. So what are some of these unmet needs? Protection. So if you're carrying extra body weight, you might feel like that body weight protects you. And if you've had the experience of losing that body weight, you might feel naked or exposed. So, the weight becomes a protection. Companionship, your favorite foods at the end of the day. What did somebody say the other day? Food, weed, and Netflix, my best friends. Safety, there's some sense of maybe if you're carrying extra body weight that it helps you to feel safe. Pleasure. I mean, come on, don't those dopamine receptors just light up like a pinball machine with those first few bites of the chips or, the ice cream or whatever? So pleasure. Love, dopamine, sometimes that dopamine surge that we get with our trigger foods, sometimes it's very easy to mistake that for love. Intimacy, very similar to love. Fun. Maybe you don't have enough fun in your life. And so, it's kind of fun to think about going to In-N-Out Burger. It's fun to think about going to DQ. It's a need for fun that you're trying to meet. There could be a need for belonging, especially in these last few years. We've become so isolated that, our food becomes kind of our best friend. So that could be a possibility. I really am of the belief that beauty is a need. And so maybe there's just some need for beauty in your life that's not being met. Spirituality, it could be any of these. And of course, there are many, many other needs as well. But here's my question to you. What's in the way of these needs getting met in a way that actually serves your growth and serves your nourishment and serves your evolution? What's in the way of that? Okay. So here we go. Now we're getting really into the meat and potatoes of things here. So I want to invite you to just look at this graphic for a moment. This is called the trauma tree, and it was created by an EFT practitioner named Lindsay Kenny. And this tree, you can see here at the bottom that we have the roots of the tree are limiting beliefs. Something's wrong with me. I can't do anything right. I'm not safe. I'm not lovable. I'm different. I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. So these are the roots that are nourishing the trunk of the tree. And here in the trunk are the traumatic experiences of our lives. So maybe you grew up with alcoholic parents. Maybe you were bullied. Maybe you had various kinds of abuse in your life. Maybe you grew up in a violent household like I did, or you were judged or criticized, or you were molested. So from this trunk, then we develop the deeply, painful and conflicting emotions that we feel: shame, guilt, heartbreak, anger, sadness, powerlessness, fear, anxiety. And then finally here, on the leaves of the tree, are all of the outpicturings or symptoms or manifestations of this whole constellation. So you could be struggling with depression, addictions, you might have heart issues. Of course, right here, weight issues, hypertension, asthma, self-sabotage, procrastination, and clutter. So the universe says yes to every thought. So if you are holding beliefs like, I'm not good enough, the universe will say, okay, I really don't think the universe cares one way or the other. If you say, I'm fantastic, the universe says, sure, yeah, okay, you are. But if you want to say, I'm not good enough, the universe says, all right, whatever you want, we'll go with it. I'm not lovable. I don't deserve to heal. I can't trust myself to follow through. This is a symptom of diet trauma, which I'll talk about in a little bit more. I can't trust myself to follow through. Wanting to be thin means I'm superficial. So if you're carrying excess weight and you really want to lose it, but you feel kind of ambivalent about it, It's like having one foot on the brakes and one on the gas pedal, and the universe will just go along with that, and it will give you every circumstance and every emotion in your life that corresponds to these beliefs. I have to work so hard for just a little progress. If I take care of myself, I'm being selfish. And here's a big one that can be a big subconscious saboteur. If I'm happy, somebody else is going to be upset. Or if I'm happy, I'm going to outshine my tribe. So the progression here is beliefs, traumatic events, stressful events, difficult emotions, and then the symptoms, the outpicturing of it. So right here in this slide, to me, this is really reason number one why diets do not work, they have never worked, and they are never going to work. Because diets are only dealing with the leaves on the tree. So what happens here? You can eliminate the symptoms. But if you haven't really gone down into these limiting beliefs, you're just going to keep getting the same results over and over and over again. So if you're thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, somebody's going to be upset if I'm happy, no wonder you're not taking care of your needs. No wonder you feel upset. No wonder the weight is hard to lose. Do you see? There's actually a wisdom to this whole pattern here. But here's the good news. And this really is the good news. Whatever traumas we've been through, trauma, when we face the pain, when we do the deep work, when we get the support that we need, trauma is a catalyst of evolution. And I'll tell you something, ladies, I wish I could tattoo this on my arm, because I know this so well from my own experience. Traumatic experiences have actually all sorts of riches hidden in them, that if we get the right support and dig down and do the mining, we can uncover that. So here's Camille, lovely, lovely former member of the Academy. Camille lost her father and her brother in the same year, and she ate her way all the way through the grief. So 2 big back-to-back traumas in 1 year. Camille knew she was gaining weight, but she didn't care. She went to the doctors and got her numbers done and was very shocked to discover that she had become borderline diabetic. And this was her big wake-up call, like, whoa, wait a second, this isn't the life I want to live. It's time for me to change. So Camille and I did a lot of tapping together. And she also worked with the holistic nutrition practitioner that is part of the Women Food and Forgiveness Academy. And through, realigning her food and really cleaning out the roots of her trauma tree, Camille was able to release 45 pounds. And what she had to say about it is, even though I lost that weight, it's not just that. This isn't a diet, this is a way of life, and it's huge for me to keep doing this work. So there's beautiful Camille. So how does EFT tapping help you release limiting beliefs? So let's go into the nuts and bolts of tapping right now. Tapping is also called EFT. It's called Emotional Freedom Techniques. You might hear all kinds of other names for it as well. I like to think of tapping as a positive brainwashing. Sometimes when people ask me what I do for a living, I literally say I brainwash people, but I do it in a good way. Tapping is kind of like a neurological repatterning tool. And tapping goes much deeper than talk therapy, and it works directly with the limbic system of the brain. So, at the beginning of this presentation, I was saying, I did years of talk therapy, and maybe you've done years of talk therapy, and we can talk, but we don't really ever cross over. And the reason for that is because language is part of our front brain, our newer brain, our human brain. Tapping goes a little deeper and works with the mammalian brain, the midbrain, where the limbic system is stored. And the limbic system is basically kind of like the smoke alarm system of the body. It's like the fire alarm that goes off when it perceives something stressful. And, it's probably a whole other presentation to go into the details of that, but tapping works with the brain at a deeper level. Some people call tapping emotional acupuncture because what it involves is fingertip tapping on points that are at or near the ends of major acupuncture meridians while you are recollecting a stressful situation. So what that does, the tapping and the recollecting of the stressful situation, it releases the distressing emotions connected to that traumatic memory, and it also helps to release the limiting beliefs. Tapping really works its magic with beliefs, the roots of that trauma tree. So tapping at its best, it lets feelings be feelings. It lets the emotions come and go. It lets the food just be the food. There doesn't have to be all the hope and fear of, oh my gosh, if I eat this, what about that? Or if I don't eat this, it just lets food be food, and it lets the body be the body. And there's a saying in the tapping world, try it on everything. So tapping can address minor annoyances. It can address the deepest traumas imaginable. I mean, I can't even tell you where I've gone with clients. I've gone, in utero, past lives, pre-verbal. I mean, you name it. We can go there with tapping. So let me introduce you to Sandy, who is a member of my Women Food and Forgiveness Academy to this day, as of this recording. Sandy came into the academy feeling very frustrated with her inability to lose her postmenopausal middle. She was eating too much. She was drinking too much. She was feeling isolated. And through her work in the academy, through the tapping and the group work that we do in the academy, she had made a lot of progress with her food choices. But there was still this one food that she couldn't give up, which was her Good and Plenty. And she was sneaking her Good and Plenty candy at night, and she would try to hide it from her husband and other people in the house. And, she was still binging on the Good and Plenty. So Sandy took one of my online classes, From Emotional Eating to Emotional Freedom, and she really zeroed in with the tapping on this Good and Plenty. And here's what she had to say. After doing the tapping in this course, I realized that Good and Plenty is my dad's food and not mine. I can keep that connection to my dad and smile at Good and Plenty as a reminder of my dad, but not eat it. I feel like I accomplished a major task. I've thrown the Good and Plenty in the trash, and I haven't thought about it since. So what happened here was that Sandy's dad used to love Good and Plenty, and she used to eat it with him, and it was kind of like a little bonding ritual. And then her father passed away, and she discovered through the tapping that she was eating the Good and Plenty to keep her memory, and her connection to her father alive. So when she was able to really clear that with the tapping, the candy just became the candy. And she could, as she said, like she can smile at the Good and Plenty, but she didn't have to eat it anymore. And I checked in with her about a year after this and said, hey, how are you doing with the Good and Plenty? And she was like, oh, no, fine. It's gone, And that is something that tapping can do. Like some food that you can be so addicted to, it can just go poof, with some tapping. And Sandy also had this to say about her work in the academy. The work in looking at traumatic events in my life is clearing the way to be open and accepting of the person I am today. Rather than avoid looking at my body, saying mean things to it, and shame myself for my life choices, I am gaining the courage to accept my body as it is and continue my healing. It's a journey, not a destination, to prioritize my health and well-being before taking care of others. Yeah, Sandy. Big successes with Sandy. And here is beautiful Leah, another alum of the Women Food and Forgiveness Academy. Leah came into the academy with decades of dieting and deprivation. Her weight loss success was always followed by failure. That probably sounds familiar to some of you. Leah is a therapist, and she's such a kind-hearted woman. She took care of everybody else before herself. So there was a lot of self-neglect there. And Leah did not put on a bathing suit for 26 years. After the birth of her second son, Leah decided her body was not to be seen. And she didn't put on a bathing suit for 26 years. So Leah and I did a lot of tapping work one-on-one together. She was very active in the Women Food and Forgiveness Academy. And she had one particular time where there was something that she had not told anybody about, for years. And, it was a very, very tender kind of a traumatic memory. We did a lot of tapping on it. And she said, as Marcella guided me through the tapping, I released the trauma and found a self-love I did not know I could feel. I understood why my body fought my desire to be in better shape, and I finally forgave myself. I now see that it's safe to be in the body I want. So after this tapping, Leah attended one of my in-person retreats, which was at a hot springs. And she brought her bathing suit, and she wasn't sure she was going to put it on. And then at a certain point, she just said to the other women, okay, I'm going to do it. Basically, I just want you to ignore me. I don't want you to cheer me like, yay, Leah, you put on the bathing suit. She said, it's another day at the hot springs. I'm going to get in my bathing suit and I'm going to get in the water. And she did. So tapping helped Leah not only find a self-love she didn't know she could feel, it helped her put on a bathing suit that she had been too ashamed to put on for over a quarter of a century. Okay. So let's do some tapping. I'm going to guide you, or rather, I'm going to play a video here of one of my favorite tapping sequences. And the topic here is, I feel horrible about the things that I've done to my body. So I'll just let the recording speak for itself. So feel free to just tap along, say as I say and do as I do. But if my words don't resonate, feel free to add your own. All right, here we go. Hey, it's Marcella here. I want to do some tapping with you around feeling really horrible and feeling so much shame and regret over the way you've treated your body over the years. So if you're a woman who has done 1,000,001 diets and you've gotten the stupid shakes and all the diet plans and all the books and all that stuff, and you're still struggling, you might be carrying some residual regret, residual shame, and a lot of self-anger about the mistakes you've made over the years. And here's what I want to tell you. It's not serving you to feel bad about your past because, among other things, that, stressful, beating yourself up energy is keeping your cortisol levels high, keeping your stress levels high, and that's precisely the condition that keeps the extra weight pinned to your body. So let's see if we can do some tapping to help you just relax all that frustration, make peace with your past, and really let your whole body and your nervous system know that it's going to be a different game going forward. Okay, so taking complete responsibility for your own well-being, let's begin by bumping the sides of the hands together. And just say as I say and do as I do, and if my words don't resonate with you, please feel free to add your own. Even though I feel horrible about everything that I've done to my body over the years, I choose to love and accept myself anyway. And even if you don't choose to love and accept yourself, just say it. This is one of the places where we actually fake it till we make it. So just say it. All right. So even though I feel so bad about all the things I've done to my body over the years, in an effort to try to fix my body and make it better, and I feel so much regret I choose to love and forgive myself as best I can in this moment. Even though I feel so much regret and I feel so horrible about all those things I did to my body. And maybe even all the things I'm still doing to my body. Good. Take a nice deep breath here. I really want to let it all go as best I can. Forgive myself as best I can. And take a fresh start. And whether I can do that or not, I love and accept myself either way. Let's start tapping around the points. I feel so horrible. I feel so horrible. Let yourself really feel it. And if you need to yell or moan, let it out. I feel horrible about the things I've done to my body. I feel so much shame, so much anger at myself, so much regret. Okay. Why did I do all those stupid diets? All those shakes and powders? What was I thinking? Not to mention I spent so much money, right? I could have bought a whole nother house with all the money that I spent on those diet plans. Ah! I feel so frustrated. Okay. I feel really horrible about this. Yeah, I really wish I had it to do all over again. I would have done it very differently. Okay, good. Nice deep breath here. Even though I feel all this shame and regret, I'm going to choose to radically forgive myself as best I can. Because it really isn't going to help me to keep beating myself up. Right? It's just going to keep me stuck. So even though I feel all this regret, I am going to own everything I did. Because the truth is, I was doing the best I could at the time. If I had known better, I would have done better. Okay? And now I do know better. And now that I know better, I want to commit to doing better. I want to say to my body, I'm so sorry for all the ways I mistreated you. I'm so sorry for all the ways I have torn you down. I'm so sorry for all the ways I made you my enemy. And I want to thank my body for still being here for me. The truth is, this body of mine is an absolute miracle. Yeah. Even with all that dieting, my body's still here and it still works. Yeah. So I really just want to love and thank my body. And I commit to taking a different path going forward. I commit as best I can today to really respecting the miracle of my body. I commit to treating my body better. I commit to taking better care of my body. Good. And as I take better care of my body takes better care of me. Okay, good. All right, this is fairly quick. Yeah, let me know how this goes and see where your regret and your frustration and your shame are at now. Hopefully they're a little bit less than they were when we started. If they're not, just keep doing this tapping, regularly and see what kind of shifts are available to you. All right. Yeah, let's do this. Let's create a whole new paradigm of body love here. And take a fresh start going forward. All right, it's Marcella sending lots of love. Bye for now. Yay! So if you would like to take a pause here and maybe just do some journaling about how that tapping was for you, and feel free to come back and do this tapping again and again as many times as you need to, always substituting your own words if mine don't resonate. So that's a little bit about tapping. Let's talk about the 3 keys to lasting success. So if diets don't work, what does? All right, so based on the work that I have done directly and indirectly with tens of thousands of women just like you, this path has 3 basic components. Number 1, reclaim your soul. And by that, I mean reclaim your soul from restrictive dieting. Reclaim your soul from all the regret that you feel over the things you've done to try to, quote unquote, fix your body, just like what we tapped on just now. And then the other piece of this is reclaiming your soul from the traumas of your early life. So in indigenous cultures, the view of trauma is that when we experience something traumatic, like pieces of our soul kind of split off and they wander away from us. So EFT and other somatic tools can really help you literally pull those fragmented pieces of your soul back and make it safe for you to reintegrate yourself to yourself. So reclaiming your soul. Number 2, forgive your body. I mentioned this earlier in this webinar. If you really stop and think about it, every single thing your body has ever done has always been a movement toward healing. Even if it's been painful, even if it continues to be painful. Our bodies are a part of nature. And as such, Mother Nature is always moving toward healing. I mean, if you, cut your finger and then you just watch it over time, I mean, you don't have to tell your finger to heal that wound. It just does it. So recognize that your body is a miracle and begin the process of forgiveness. Forgiving the body here also has to do with healing your, metabolic imbalances. So in the Women, Food, and Forgiveness Academy, we talk about the emotional body and the hormonal body are essentially identical. So if you're feeling a lot of stress, you're holding on to a lot of trauma, chances are you've got hormonal imbalances as well that are causing you to, keep weight on, not be able to recognize when you're full, when you eat, cause a lot of, emotional distress and so on. So forgiving your body. And then the third piece, this is so important, coming into community. We cannot transform ourselves by ourselves. We cannot get out of the problem with the brain that got us into the problem. We have this ethos in our culture that we're supposed to be able to do it on our own. And I really challenge that and I really question that. What I find is when we are in community, we heal so much faster when we heal together. And the other piece about community that's really wonderful is that we're not all crazy at the same time. So you might be feeling really crazy, and somebody else in your community has some great words of wisdom for you. And then the next day it's the other way around. She's really crazy and you're feeling more together and you have wisdom. So community is extremely powerful. Um, Community is also very powerful for coming out of isolation and coming out of self-obsession, which can be very destructive. And community also is very powerful for helping you move your life forward, go for your dreams, and realize your goals, regardless of the number on the scale, you know? So my question to you is, if you don't do this, who's going to do it for you? You know? Okay. So I want to invite you to meet Frances, my beautiful Texas Belle. Frances came into the Women, Food, and Forgiveness Academy in a downward spiral of emotional eating and weight gain for 3 years. She had been dieting and losing weight for years and years and years, and she didn't want to do either of those things anymore. And in her words, she said, I knew I was killing myself with food. Frances, in the initial work that we did together, which was in an in-person retreat, Frances shed an enormous amount of emotional weight. I mean, she really let go of a lifetime of shame. And she cried some really big tears with all of us. And then she was able to move herself forward. And, the last time I checked in with her, she was doing a triathlon, she was pursuing swimming goals, and even a new business adventure. And here's what she has to say. It feels good to have a tribe of beautiful women to band together to share, uplift, and support each other in our life journeys to health and wholeness of body, mind, and spirit. So there's Frances. And here is Katie, who is perhaps one of the most profound transformational stories in the Academy. Katie came into the Academy really, really mad at her mother, very angry, wanted to forgive her mother, but didn't know how. When Katie came in, she had had 2 miscarriages. She was in the midst of her 3rd pregnancy, which she lost at 24 weeks. And boy, when that happened, oh my gosh. I mean, she was just catapulted into the abyss. It was a very, very, very devastating experience. And, all of the women in the Academy kind of rallied around her. We prayed for her. We prayed with her. We did ritual. We did tapping. And, she would sometimes eat the whole fridge in anger. Yeah, so as I said, Katie was really pulling every tool that she had at her disposal, including the community, to really take herself hand over fist out of, the pit of grief and rage that she was in. And she ultimately did come into a space of forgiveness, for her mother. And that forgiveness wasn't, hey, Mom, it's okay what you did, but rather really learning how to accept her mother for who she was and taking her life back, into her own hands. So through this deep work, Katie gave birth to her first daughter, first living daughter, and that's Hayden in July of 2020. And she gave birth to her second daughter, Scarlett Josephine, aka Scout, in June of 22. So Katie now has 2 healthy, bouncy baby girls. And what she has to say about the eating, I don't have an emotional connection to that food anymore. I can still eat bad things once in a while, but I can also keep a box of cereal in the house for 2 weeks. This work is so near and dear to my heart. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So much healing is possible on this path. So we're coming into time to wrap up, but before we do, I thought we could do some more tapping. This is a very, very quick, fun tapping to just raise your vibration about feeling good about your body. Here we go. Hey, it's Marcella here. Let's do some super quick tapping to raise your vibration around feeling good around your body. Okay, so let's just jump right in, taking full responsibility for your own well-being. Let's begin by just tapping, bumping the two sides of the hand together. I choose to feel good in my body. And I choose to love and accept myself. I choose to feel good about my body. And I choose to love and honor myself. I choose to feel good in my body. I choose to appreciate all the ways my body supports and sustains me. I choose to feel good in my body. And I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself and anyone else who might be involved. Right. I choose to feel good in my body. I choose to feel good in my body. No matter how I have felt in the past, I choose in this moment, as best I can, to feel good in my body. I choose to be loving toward my body. I choose to be accepting of my body. I choose to make friends with my body. I choose to clear all the ways I haven't felt good in the past about my body. I choose to let go of all of my judgment about my body. I choose to let go of all of my frustration with my body. The truth is, my body is a miracle. My body is a miracle. My body is a miracle. My body does all kinds of wonderful things that I am hardly ever even aware of. My body is a miracle. And I choose to feel good about it. I choose to deeply respect and honor my body. And I choose to clear all the ways that I have judged my body in the past. Clearing all that judgment on a cellular level. Clearing it all through my history. So that I am now free to take a fresh start and love and respect and appreciate my body for the miracle that it is. Yay! Good. You know, you might want to do this every day for 7 days and see how it shifts your relationship to your body. All right. Bye for now. Well, I don't know about you, but I certainly feel better in my body. Yay! Yeah. Okay. So, does the material that I have presented in this webinar resonate with you? Can you see how restrictive dieting is absolutely not the path to loving the woman you see in the mirror? Do you get that you haven't loved the woman you see in the mirror because of self-limiting beliefs you adopted in response to trauma? Would you love to have the breakthroughs you've seen in the women you've met here? And are you willing to create a new life built on a foundation of self-love, self-respect, and self-care? Okay. So, at this point, you have two choices. Choice number one, you can leave this webinar and go on your merry way. Now, I know for sure you've definitely gotten some good information here, but maybe you don't have a firm intention to put it into action. You tell yourself, well, yeah, okay, someday, I'll do this. And then you just end up back at square one looking for the right resources to support you, right? And where that leaves you is no closer to your goals than you were before you signed up for this webinar. And all this rich information, all this transformational potential, it just fades into the background of your mind as the healing you deserve and desire gets farther and farther away. So I want to say to you, don't quit before the miracle, okay? Here's choice number two. Let me take you by the hand and stand behind you as you look in that mirror and see the beauty that you are smiling back at you. Okay? So if you would like to make the second choice, I have an invitation for you. So would you like to hear about it? If you don't want to hear about it, this is a great place to just log off. Thank you, Marcella. Go on your merry way, start back at square one. Or you can begin that process of transformation right now, today. So I want to invite you to sign up for a free Illumination call with me. So in this free 45-minute call, what you will get is my intuitive downloads, my insights on what is really keeping you stuck. You know, I mean, I've given you some clues in this webinar, but if we get to talk one-on-one, I can really zero in on what's going on with you. And I'm telling you, so many times I've done these calls and women kind of gasp. They're like, oh my God, you just nailed it, Marcella. So my insight on the true nature of the obstacles that have kept you stuck. We can forge a path together for realizing your healing dreams in the next 6 to 12 months. This doesn't have to take that long. Yes, it's a deep process, but it also goes faster than you think. We can put together a roadmap that you can implement right away. And, you know, so many women have said what Meredith said. You know, Marcella has an uncanny ability to help you pinpoint and release exactly what's keeping you stuck. So this call is completely free. There is no obligation to buy a thing. We can also explore if the Women, Food, and Forgiveness Academy is a fit for you, if it's a fit for me, if I think it'll be a fit for the other women in the academy. Yeah. So I want to invite you to sign up for that call. And I also want to invite you to just lastly listen to Emma, who has been in my academy for several years now, and she's had some really beautiful experiences, as well as, you know, along with many of the other women that you've met in this webinar. So let's listen to Emma here.
I have been in the academy for a little over a year, and it has been just a remarkable experience. I have learned a lot about loving and forgiving myself, and that's really been the foundation of the success that I have had in making these permanent changes in my life. it's not a temporary diet or a program or something like that. I just feel like the material that I have learned here and from all of you and from Marcella and Mary Sheila has brought me to a place where I feel at peace with this age-old pain that I've had and angst that I've had. Because it hasn't felt like, oh, I have to deprive myself and it has to be really painful. It's just common sense, and there's a lot of science behind it, but there's also a lot of love and letting go and all of the things that go along with that. So it's been a great experience.
Yeah, and it can be a great experience for you too. So yeah, schedule your call with me. Let's do this. Alrighty. One last exercise before we wrap up here. This is one of my favorite things to do for loving the woman I see in the mirror. This is what I call my Hello Beautiful exercise. So I want to invite you to go to the mirror after we adjourn this webinar. Look all the way into the pupils of your eyes, the only part of you that has not changed since the day you were born. And then just say to yourself, hello, beautiful. Hello, beautiful. And then notice your reaction. And I want to invite you to just stay there and stay with the process and keep repeating it until it sinks in. So, who do you become when you actually see your beauty like this? When you see yourself as the beauty that you are in your true nature. Okay. So, if you are willing to have a future that is different from your past, please sign up for my free 45-minute illumination call. Let's talk one-on-one. We can do a deep dive into what's going on with you and map out a path of transformation. Yeah, let's do it. So thank you so much for staying all the way to the end of this webinar. I really look forward to hearing from you. Lots of love. Take care. Bye for now.